Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you are having a wonderful day today. So, anyways, man, when it comes down to it, I thought that I would review this little video. I don't know what channel this is actually by, but maybe I can put it in the description box down below with a link. But, anyways, this is Tyson Fury in his post fight interview, and he talks to this one British, I believe, announcer when it comes down to it. I don't remember this dude's name, but I've seen him talk about boxing quite a bit. I just don't remember the guy's name. But, anyways, after the fight had happened, when it came down to it, Deontay Wilder, of course, he was in his corner after basically getting put to sleep when it came down to it. And Tyson Fury tried to go over there. He tried to congratulate him overall on putting up a tough fight, and he tried to give great sportsmanship. And of course, Deontay Wilder, he did not accept Tyson Fury. He said overall that he basically told him to F off, and he said that he didn't have any respect for him. And there's a certain amount of people out there, there's a couple of people on my channel that said, well, I believe that Deontay Wilder, that he should be a man about his loss, and overall that he should give Tyson Fury the credit and all sort of stuff. And I agree. But there's a reason why Deontay Wilder is not going to do that. Because Deontay Wilder, and I've already said this, and this is why I released a video a little over a week ago saying, is Deontay Wilder living a lie? And I don't think a certain amount of people really realize what I was trying to say with that video, because what I mean by that is that Deontay Wilder, he's created this character for himself. And that's not me necessarily saying that I think Deontay Wilder is being 100% fake. I think that Deontay Wilder wants to be this super huge pro-black character when it comes down to it overall. But I just don't think overall that that's always a great thing to be when it comes down to it. And Deontay Wilder, he was listening to all these people that all in all really were not helping him, but were giving him these bullshit excuses, and we're always making excuses for him. And for those of us overall that are intelligent enough, we know all in all that making excuses is not going to help improve anybody with anything. You have to be very honest, even sometimes brutally honest, because those people, those are the guys that are going to help you the most. Otherwise, how the hell are you ever going to improve? But there's a reason why Deontay Wilder, there's a reason why he did not shake Tyson Fury's hand. Of course, obviously, because Deontay Wilder, he always has been a sore loser, and he always been an excuse maker. And you can see this even before his losses to Tyson Fury. Once again, Deontay Wilder, even when he had tough fights with Luis Ortiz, he would come up with excuses for each and every time why he would have a tough fight. He would have excuses against Luis Ortiz, and he said, oh, I had a tough fight because I had the flu. Deontay Wilder is just one of those guys that he's super duper prideful. And those guys, they always have excuses to why they lost the fight, or why they lost this, why they lost that. And that can be quite common with a lot of great athletes. We've seen the same thing with Vasyl Lomachenko when he lost to Teofimo Lopez. We've seen the same thing with Manny Pacquiao in almost every single loss in his career when it came down to it. And a certain amount of other boxers that I may not even be mentioning right now. But the reason why Deontay Wilder did not embrace Tyson Fury, or the reason why he did not even dare to shake his hand, is because Deontay Wilder knows that if he did that, that he would look like the ultimate fool. And I think that if Deontay Wilder, I think in his mind, he basically said, well, if I'm going to continue going on with this charade, or this charade, I might as well stick with it to the end. Because I think Deontay Wilder, I think he knows overall that to the majority of the people, he looks like a damn fool. But if he even shook Tyson Fury's hand after that third fight, even a certain amount of his fan base, which, let's be real, they're pretty much a pro-black cult. It is what it is. Even they possibly would have turned against Deontay Wilder, because let's be real, if you truly believe that Deontay Wilder got cheated, or if you're Deontay Wilder and you truly believe that you got cheated, which once again, Deontay Wilder does not believe that. He does not believe that. And I knew overall from the beginning that he didn't believe that, because he still had JDs in his corner. So Deontay Wilder, he can try to fool his dumb fan base. He can't fool me. He can't fool me. But the thing is with Deontay Wilder is that he did not shake Tyson Fury's hand because he knew that if he shook Tyson Fury's hand, he would look like an absolute fool. Because Deontay Wilder and his fan base, they've been standing on this hill for so long. They've been alleging these allegations for so long, that Tyson Fury has cheated, and that Tyson Fury, that he removed padding from the gloves, and Tyson Fury, he had an egg weight in there, and Tyson Fury, someone poisoned my water. If he were to embrace Tyson Fury, even after facing him in a fourth fight, even, in a third fight, in a fair fight, he would look like a damn fool. It would be the same thing with Miguel Cotto and Antonio Margarito. Even if Miguel Cotto were to win the match, why the hell would you go over and embrace Antonio Margarito if you truly believe that you got cheated? And Deontay Wilder was at least smart enough to realize that if he did that, his own fan base, which is really the only, that pro-black cult fan base that he has, which is really the only fan base that he still has, they would have even turned against him. And Deontay Wilder knows that. That's the reason why he did not embrace Tyson Fury. That's the reason why he's not giving him credit, because Deontay Wilder, he's stuck in a role. He's stuck in a character. And it's very unfortunate, but he has no one else to blame but himself, because he put himself in that position. Certain people, all in all, they create this role for themselves. They create this character for themselves. And they're stuck in that role. They're stuck in that character. And that's exactly what Deontay Wilder, that's exactly the type of position that he is in right now. So if Deontay Wilder, if he ever does give Tyson Fury credit, it's probably not going to be right now. In fact, it's probably not going to be for a very, very long time. Who the hell knows, depending on how maturely Deontay Wilder grows up, or, how much more he matures, we may not hear it ever. Because some people, even when they don't truly believe in something, they will still stand on that mountaintop overall. They will stand on that hill just to not look like a fool, and they will take it to the grave. But certain fighters overall, it takes them a very, very long time to finally overall admit to themselves that, you know what, this was really the real deal. This was the real situation. And I was a damn fool to deny it all these years. So Deontay Wilder, if we ever do hear him give Tyson Fury credit and say, you know what, maybe if I had not listened to all those excuses and made all those excuses, I would have won the fight. I think if that time is ever going to come, it's going to come when Deontay Wilder is in his late 50s or late 60s, possibly even in his late 70s. Because George Foreman, I'm not necessarily sure when he finally said that I made a bunch of excuses against Muhammad Ali, but it took him a very, very, very long time. And George Foreman, in my opinion, was a much more mature person than that of a Deontay Wilder. But George Foreman had a not so matured fighting style, just like Deontay Wilder. And it took him a lot of time to accept that loss to Muhammad Ali. But that's the situation that Deontay Wilder is in right now. At least I believe. But anyways, let's hear what Tyson Fury has to say. Let's get into it.
First of all, Tyson, it was exceptional. It was unbelievable. I'm going to ask you a question. Did you enjoy it?
I was made for this shit, Steve. Made for it. Proved.
Tyson Fury is a funny dude, man. I'll tell you what.
Time and time again. I can never be wrote off. I can never be beat till I'm down and out.
But it was a better Deontay Wilder tonight. The first couple of rounds, he was smarter. I could see you thinking.
Well, it was a Deontay Wilder that I think tried to make the better adjustments. I think that Deontay Wilder, that he certainly did try to be better. I do think that that is true, that it was a better Deontay Wilder. I also believe that it was a worse version of Tyson Fury. That's what I believe. I believe that that really is the only reason why he got knocked down, because of Tyson Fury. If he fights just as intelligently as he did in the second fight, he doesn't get knocked down at all. And it's very impossible that that fight gets stopped in the 9th round or maybe even earlier.
Yeah, I didn't have my best performance, but I pulled it out the bag when it...
See, even he said that he did not have his best performance either. I don't think he did either. And so many people, they call this a classic fight. I suppose you could. It was a pretty decent fight. I give Deontay Wilder credit for putting on the best fight that he possibly could. But if Tyson Fury really fought intelligently in this fight really would have not even been competitive for even those couple of rounds. Well, it might have been competitive for that first round. Because I think Tyson Fury, he did have to kind of feel out Deontay Wilder to see what he was going to do. But besides that, Tyson Fury, he should have never ran into those shots.
And what about Wilder's this desire to keep getting up? It reminded me of you keep getting up.
It was, and he did keep getting up. But it was that final right hand to the side of the head that finished him.
When you went...
So many Deontay Wilder fans, they always bitch, moan, and complain that Tyson Fury allegedly was throwing behind the head and throwing these rabbit punches and all this sort of bullshit. And I'm not saying that here and there that Fury and Wilder would not land certain punches, maybe on the side or close behind the head when they're roughhousing each other, especially on the inside. And on top of that, a lot of the reason why Tyson Fury sometimes lands punches behind the head, especially on Wilder, because you notice he almost lands no punches behind the head on anyone else, is because it's the way Wilder turns when he's in the clinch, and on top of that, he turns in a weird way when Tyson Fury throws punches at him, and that's why sometimes it looks like the punches can be behind the head. But all in all, they're not really the majority of the time behind the head. They're usually on the side. But I remember when Deontay Wilder, when he landed that right hand that hit Tyson Fury either on the side of the head, maybe even a little bit behind the head, or maybe not behind the head, but kind of behind the ear. That second knockdown in the 4th round. Now, did we hear any of the Deontay Wilder fans say, "Oh, well, you know what? Yeah, that knockdown happened, but it really shouldn't have even counted because it was close to behind the head"? Because really, if we want to go there, I mean, that was pretty close to behind the head as well, just like the first right hand that landed, for Tyson Fury, or the one that knocked out Deontay Wilder down in the first rematch. So many of them were bitching and moaning that was behind the head. But you notice that none of these guys say that Deontay Wilder landed any punches behind the head. Isn't that interesting?
Down. Were you hurt more than you were in the first fight?
I wasn't hurt. You get hit, you don't feel it, you wake up on the floor, and that's it.
I'm gonna say that you were hurt, Tyson. I'm not I'm not gonna go that far. I think that you were hurt. No doubt about it.
But I got up, I was very conscious the whole time, and that was it.
And as you were getting close to the stoppage, were you trying to motion in the referee? Were you looking at the referee, or just focusing on Deontay?
Just focusing on Deontay. I was one punch away from knocking him out the whole fight.
And at the end, you went over to see him. What did you say to him?
Just said, "Well done." And he said, "I don't want to show any sportsmanship or respect." I said, "No problem."
Is that what he said to you?
Yeah.
Are you surprised by that?
Very surprised. Sore loser, an idiot.
I'm not surprised at all. But I don't know if Tyson Fury, he was paying attention to what Deontay Wilder was saying, but I don't think he realizes that what type of, cult Deontay Wilder really has created for himself. And when you create a cult, or when you create a group like that is so religiously bowing down to you, you can't piss them off. And that's exactly how Deontay Wilder, I believe, is thought. So he said, all in all, I might as well just stand on this hill, because all in all, if I end up doing this, I'm going to look like a damn fool, not overall to just a majority of people, but really to everybody. And then I'm going to have no one. Which, in my opinion, it is what it is. I don't think Deontay Wilder should have those people anyway, because people that religiously worship you, or overall, aren't going to tell you at least some truthful things when you need it, those people aren't going to help you anyway.
About respect, and he showed guts, but not respect. That's bizarre.
Do you know what? To be a top fighting man, you got to show guts and respect, and he couldn't do it tonight, and that was it.
Does that really surprise you, Tyson? Would you like to have seen him just hold his hands up and say, "I lost to the better man tonight, like I did last"?
Yeah, 100%, but he couldn't do it. So I'll pray for him. Just thankful that we all get out of the fight in one piece. We go on to our lovely families, and that's it.
Tyson, at what point did you know it was going to be all over? Like, truthfully, don't say yesterday. At what point in the fight did you know it was going to be finished?
I thought it was over when I first...
If you're asking me overall what point in time did I think that the fight was all over, well, with Deontay Wilder, you can never, even when he looks out, you can never 100% say that it's over until the fight is stopped. But when I had a pretty good feeling, it was about the 7th or 8th round, because I said, wow, not only did he gain too much muscle, but his stamina is just not there, and his feet, they have not improved whatsoever. His head movement, his defense, they have not improved whatsoever. The only thing Deontay Wilder was able to improve on was a little bit of strategy, but there was nothing else that he had.
Clipped him, and then I got caught myself with big shots, again and again, but I was chipping away nice and slow.
And, Deontay Wilder, he even landed some right hands a little bit later on in the fight that hurt Fury a little bit here and there, but his stamina was so out of it overall that he just did not have anywhere near the same power. That's why I say, people, they always bitched and moaned and, said, oh, that fight should have continued last time. Well, then you do not have Deontay Wilder's best interest in your interest, because Wilder was not going to come back in that fight. And you now see a first-class example of what would have happened in that second fight had that fight continued. Wilder would have been sleeping on the floor, which is exactly what happened in this fight.
Body and head, and I thought, it's only a matter of time before I catch you proper. He was getting weaker and weaker and weaker. The weight didn't help him.
I agree.
Those extra pounds, did that give you, when he came in heavy at the weigh-in, did you instantly think that's just too heavy for him?
Too heavy, but whatever, he done his...
Deontay Wilder gained 10 pounds of muscle And that's not something that you always want to do, especially when you don't have a great gas tank. And Wilder, once again, there's so many people that always try to say, oh man, he has great stamina. He's never had great stamina. He's never had great stamina. Fighters who have great stamina, they don't just throw one or two punches here and there. They're combination punchers. There's people that are very, very conditioned. When I think about great conditioned fighters, I'm thinking about Vasily Lomachenko. I'm thinking about Terrence Crawford. I'm thinking about Floyd Mayweather Jr., Manny Pacquiao to a certain degree. Canelo, he has a little bit of stamina issues, but he paces himself much better to this point in time. Deontay Wilder has never had good stamina. He's never had good stamina. If you ever notice Deontay Wilder in his biggest fights, he actually barely throws.
Best of it wasn't good enough on the night.
That was a great crowd and your cheer was louder, but what would it have been like if there had been travelling British fans? And have you got a message for them?
It's in the crowd. Thank you to everybody who came, but it would have been a lot better if the Brits would have been here. But it was a great fight, and I respect boxing, and boxing's the only winner here tonight, and the only winners are the fans. We get paid money for this. We put our lives on the line, and we risk it all every single time. So it's a really, really tough fight.
Now, you talked, Tyson, about the difference between a champion and a great. Tonight, do you think you firmly took that step from a champion to a great?
100%. I'm now the greatest heavyweight of my era, without a doubt. Number one, number uno. Look what I've done. I came to America.
I would agree as well. Tyson Fury, he beat Deontay Wilder, who is an A-grade fighter, and he beat Vladimir Klitschko, who's an A-grade fighter as well. The only other definitive A-grade fighters within that heavyweight division, in my opinion, would be Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk. And, Anthony Joshua, he just had that recent loss to Alexander Usyk, and of course, a lot of people, they're going to talk a lot of shit on Anthony Joshua and everything like that, and they're going to say, oh, he has no chance against Tyson Fury. Well, I think Tyson Fury more than likely probably does beat him. But Anthony, there's no doubt about it, he is all in all still one of the best heavyweights of this generation. Anthony, when you take a look at his accomplishments and his resume, it's there. He's beat Dillian White, he's beat Joseph Parker, he's beat Andrew Ruiz, he's beat Kubrat Pulev. All right, he beat Charles Martin when he was okay. Now, I understand Charles Martin, he's not really elite, but it is what it is, And he also beat Vladimir Klitschko in that very competitive fight. So we got to give Anthony Joshua some credit.
To me, last 6 fights.
I think Anthony Joshua, let me put it this way. I think Anthony Joshua deserves more credit for what he's done in his career than what Deontay Wilder has. And a certain amount of people would disagree. That's not me saying that Deontay Wilder would not beat Anthony Joshua. But that's me saying basically that Anthony has just accomplished more in his career. And their resumes, it's not even close.
The most devastating puncher in the history of our sport. Not once, not twice, but 3.
Because I'm sorry, but like I said, Deontay Wilder, it's great that you defended your WBC title, but you defended your WBC title the same way that Adonis Stevenson, basically defended his WBC title by facing guys that really almost had no chance against you. There's only 2 opponents on your resume throughout your 40-something fight career that ever actually looked to have a chance against you. That was either Tyson Fury or Luis Ortiz. The only top competitor that you ever fought besides Tyson Fury, and you lost all 3 of those fights, was Luis Ortiz.
3 times. Danger, man.
And won the fans over along the way.
They keep saying, there's a saying in there, if you play with fire long enough, you're going to get burnt. And that's what it's about. Good job I got balls like King Kong, innit?
Frank.
Oh, God.
Can I ask you just a quick question? Tyson, let's just keep you for a second. Frank, I know it's the wrong time to talk about it, but in an ideal world, is he going to fight in a stadium in the UK? Is that in an ideal world?
It's too soon to. I'd love that. Of course we want that. I'm sure so. But we got to sort that out. We're sorting out. Let him enjoy the moment of the best heavyweight fight I've ever seen.
Yeah. Tyson.
Well, this is not the best heavyweight fight that I've ever seen. Now, if you're talking about the best heavyweight fight that I've ever seen in terms of throughout my years that I ever seen live, on a pay-per-view on the day that it actually happened, then yeah, it may debatably be the best. Well, actually, no, not even then. Because Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko, in my opinion, was a better fight than this. It was better than any of the 3 fights because even though Fury got knocked down a couple times and all sorts of stuff and there was moments of competitiveness, that Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko fight, that whole entire fight was competitive. The first 5 rounds went to Joshua, the next 5 went to Klitschko, and then the final 2 really were up to, both of them really to decide. I was on the edge of my seat the whole entire time during that fight. Tyson Fury versus Wilder. Wilder had his moments, but throughout 75% of the fight, he pretty much got his ass crushed. He pretty much got ran over, just like Tyson Fury said he was going to do.
Tyson, just finally, Frank's talking there about the best heavyweight fight he's ever seen. You're a scholar, a student of the game. You and your father are scholars and students of the game. Is that the best heavyweight fight you've ever seen?
I don't know, I've never seen that. I was involved in it.
But does it feel like the best one you've ever seen?
It's a great fight. Thank you very much and good night.
Thanks, Tyson. Thanks very much indeed.
Anyways, that's really about it for today. But anyways, if you also would have asked me the question, do I think that this is the best heavyweight fight that I've ever seen? No, I can't necessarily say that. I think Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko is above it. I think Riddick Bowe versus Evander Holyfield, a couple of their matches has to be above it. I think all in all that Muhammad Ali versus Joe Frazier certainly has to be above it. That probably is the best heavyweight fight that I've personally ever seen in history. Of course, I was not born during that time, but of course I've watched a lot of other older clips, and I'm thinking of like other fights that maybe happened as well. I'm trying to think. Other heavyweight fights, that is. I can't really remember at this point in time. Lennox Lewis versus somebody, maybe. I can't remember. Riddick Bowe versus Andrew Golota actually was pretty interesting as well. It's just very unfortunate how it ended. But it is what it is. Anyways, there's some very great heavyweight fights out there in history. But this certainly is going to go down as one of the better ones. No doubt about it. But anyways, that's really about it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you all later.